marketing outlets.
I'm Rick Benjamin in the STP Pit Communications Center. All afternoon here, we'll be keeping track of some key statistics and other interesting stories that unfold during our broadcast today. A couple of things we want to check for you. Our MasterCard Master of the Moment race analysis. Some of the key statistics. Drivers today gunning for nearly $800,000 in posted awards. 37 drivers will take the green flag here in a few moments. We'll go 400 laps, which is 300 miles here at this 3/4 of a mile Richmond International Raceway. Race record set in this event 1 year ago by the late Davey Allison, just a shade over 107.7 miles an hour. Today on pit road, the drivers will be limited to 45 miles an hour in terms of how much speed they can have coming down for their pit stops. Something else we're going to be taking a look at today, keeping track of for you. Many of these Winston Cup races, in fact, today's event may well be won on pit road by the drivers and crews who can do the best job getting their cars in and out for service. Advance Auto Parts will be handing out the PDQ Award today. Our TBS broadcast team will select the best pit stop of the day, and Advance Auto Parts will be making a donation to the Make-A-Wish Foundation on behalf of that team. Let's go topside and meet the man who will call the action for us this afternoon at Richmond. Here's Ken Squire.
Well, thank you, Rick. It's the same wonderful weather, the same sold-out house, the same competition we always get at Richmond, 0.3 of a second separating the qualified field. What is different today is our sidekick, our colleague, the best analyst we ever worked with, Neil Bonnet, is not here. And those are big shoes to fill, but for today, we're honored to have with us a couple of guys representing the veterans and the youngsters in the game to help us along. The two-time winner of this event, Dave Marcus here. Dave, a real pleasure to welcome you to TBS, and you can tell us just how competitive this field really is.
Well, Ken, it's very competitive. I was one of the 9 cars that failed to qualify, and you know, Ted Musgrave on the pole on Goodyear Eagles, his first Winston Cup pole. Rick Mass qualified 4th, having a great season, and lots of cars starting in the rear of the field that are definitely capable of winning this race.
Now, standing alongside is Kenny Wallace. He finished 2nd yesterday in the Grand National Hardee's 250. Big question, how is it out there?
Well, Ken, I tell you what, it started out as a one-groove racetrack, and what happened about halfway through the race, we started moving it up. Harry Gant was the one who done that. I look forward to the veterans today, about halfway, 50, 80 laps into this race, to start working that rubber up high and open it up a 2 to 2.5 lane racetrack.
Let's talk for just a moment about this revolution that's going on, guys. Here you've got Grissom coming in, qualifying well up. You've got Jeremy Mayfield doing well today. John Andretti, new rookie, he's qualified well. And as you mentioned, a lot of those veterans, like you've got Terry Labonte, a provisional, starting dead last. What is the story?
Well, Ken, a lot of these fellas are considered rookies in Winston Cup. However, they're not rookies on the short tracks. That's where they begin their career, and they're sharp. They know what they're doing. They've got good race cars. They spent a lot of time this winter getting the center of gravity on these race cars down good and low, and that's the key here at Richmond. Good corner speeds is what wins this race.
Kenny?
Yeah, you know, it takes a really good short track car, but I think what we're looking at right now, we're looking at rookies that aren't raw rookies. These are race car drivers like Todd Bodine, Joe Nemechek. These are guys that are at their shop every week working on their race cars. They know what springs are in the race car. It just makes them better, and especially on the short tracks where people like myself, we feel at home on the short tracks.
And that's what we've got for you today. 3/4 mile oval and some of the most exciting Winston Cup racing you will see this year in the Pontiac Excitement 400. That's what's coming up. Right now, back to Rick Benjamin.
All right, thank you, gentlemen. We'll be back to take a look at the starting lineup, an intriguing mix of drivers in different places than you might ordinarily expect. We'll check all of that out for you from Richmond when we come back here in just a moment on TBS. Are buckled in. The motors have roared to life. 75,000 Winston Cup fans settling into their seats for what ought to be a great afternoon of racing here on this 3/4 of a mile speedway. Let's get a look at the drivers of the cars who will be making up our field today. To run down our starting lineup, here's Ken Squire.
The Haviland starting field for today's race. On the pole, first pole of his career, new track record for Ted Musgrave from Wisconsin. Alongside, it's Mark Martin, the winner back in 1990. Going to row 2, there's Chuck Bound, the Bobby Allison car, and Rick Mass. For row 3, it's Michael Waltrip, who won a Busch race here back in 1990, and the winner of the Daytona 500, Sterling Marlin. In row 4, ranking second in the standings, Ernie Irvin, and alongside the Flash himself, Jeff Gordon. For row 5, it's a 5-time winner at Richmond, Dale Earnhardt. And Mr. Excitement, Jimmy Spencer. In row 6, Joe Nemechek, who won yesterday's Busch Grand National race. and Rusty Wallace, a 4-time winner here. In row 7, it's the Bodine brothers, Brett on the inside and Todd on the outside. Row 8, from Alabama, Steve Grissom and Ken Schrader. In row 9, it's Jeff Bodine, twice runner-up in this race, and youngster from Tennessee, Jeremy Mayfield. In row 10, Kyle Petty, who won here his first race in '86 in Winston Cup, and Dick Trickle. Row 11, that's Greg Sachs, and Dale Jarrett is there. Row 12, Jimmy Hensley, the veteran from Virginia, and John Andretti. In row 13, Jeff Burton, the graduate from the Busch Series, and Bill Elliott, winner back in '92 of this race. Row 14 is Darrell Waltrip, 6 times a winner at Richmond, and Harry Gant, who won on this track in '91. Row 15 is Ward Burton, that's Jeff's brother, and Lake Speed in the Bud Moore Ford. For row 16, it's Bobby Labonte and Morgan Shepherd. In row 17, former Daytona 500 winner Derek Cope, carrying one of our onboard cameras, and Ricky Rudd, who won here in '84. Going to row 18, provisional starters, Bobby Hamilton and Bobby Hillen. Out back, it's Terry Labonte, using a champion's provisional to make the field. And take a look at who did not make this field. Loy Allen, the pole sitter for the Daytona 500. The sensational Rich Bickle, the great West Coast star Rick Corelli, the STP car of Wally Dallenbach, Richard Petty's car, and Dave Marcus found himself looking from the outside. Billy Stanbridge, Hutch Strickland, T.W. Taylor, Mike Wallace, all made an effort and came short in getting prepared for this race today. Race number 3 of the 1994 season. So the field is away on their preliminary laps before we go in the Richmond 400 this afternoon. How to be a thriller as they line up. Guys, any speculation as the field comes around? One thing we're noting, see Jeremy Mayfield's car going to the rear. Qualified 18th, but he crashed in turn 2 on his second lap. Brought out another car, so he's going to back up out here. The Earl Sadler team going to a backup car.
Yesterday, Ken, the temperatures were a little bit warmer. It's colder here today. You see on your screen, everybody's really wiggling those cars back and forth, trying to get those radials really warmed up for the start of this race.
That does make a difference. You do need to put some heat into those tires. I think you've seen that in qualifying. The second laps were faster.